Hello, I am Ana Resendes, lead software engineer for the World of Warcraft Classic team.
And hi, I'm Clay Stone, Associate Production Director on the WoW Classic team.
So folks, a lot of information today to unpack. World of Warcraft Classic, Cataclysm, and Season of Discovery. The first one is, what's it been like seeing the fans' response, playing it downstairs for the first time after years of work?
Yeah, it has been amazing. You know, this is the first BlizzCon in 4 years, so for us, like every time that we have like a new release, if we're doing a new expansion or like a new patch or a new season, it's like we always like to see the players' reactions, but we kind of like have to use more either like going to someone's stream or going and looking at the data itself, but or like, you know, all the social media and the channels, but there's nothing like this is what we're doing. And you get to play it right now and tell us what you think. I was just having chills. I was just like going through the demo station and just seeing everybody in their groups already. I know it's like trying to get a team of 10 people together out of like BlizzCon, but that's the magic of BlizzCon, right? That you can just go in. You might only come in with a friend, and you end up like meeting all these people, creating a raid with other 9 or whatever players you need to make your group. And then just like go in and try it and like being super excited. We also got to see some of the streamers played with a couple of 5 members of our team.
Yeah.
And just like super excited just about like all the abilities. Like you're telling me I can do metamorphosis, and you're telling me I can do penance as a priest. Like as a priest, I'm just so excited that I can use penance in Classic. I don't know if you have anything.
I was standing in Hall D in the middle of a giant crowd as we announced Cata and then Season of Discovery, and just hearing the excitement for both. I mean, I'm basically feeling 2 things. 1, immense relief because we've now announced them,
Yeah.
but then 2, like pure excitement. Just pure excitement. Hearing the roar for both of those was just awesome. So yeah, it's just exciting times ahead, and now we get to release Season of Discovery for players, and not long after that, Cataclysm Classic.
For Cataclysm Classic, you guys have gone in order, of course, Burning Crusade, Wrath of the Lich King. As you get more and more closer to modern WoW, does it get more difficult to decide what you take on? Like, I feel like at a certain point, it's going to be a completely different game because the ecosystem was just different in retail, and you have with the classic mechanics and archetypes that you guys have been using. Is that difficult to try to, as you guys keep moving forward down the timeline?
Yes, I mean, that's a really good question. The more we start, like the more time it passes, the more expansions we go through, it brings in this challenge that it's a really cool challenge of like that makes us really sit down as a group and understand, okay, what is classic? What makes this expansion classic? What does this expansion differentiates from the modern game, right? And we are the keepers of it, right? Like we are the ones that are trying to preserve this experience for the players so they can go back to 2010 and go back to Cataclysm. Like for some people it was their first expansion, so we want to be able to recreate that, but of course keeping in mind that we're in a newer world. It's 2023. It's no longer 2010 or 2004. So it brings like all these challenges of like, okay, there's things that we want to bring closer to the like our current society, but at the same time, how can we make sure that we're not losing that classic feeling? And as you said, the more expansions we go, the more it becomes of a blurred line. But it's like one of our top priorities to make sure that we are still like bringing you back into time, into a different era that it's different from the modern game, just like different. So like really like what I love so much about World of Warcraft in general is that we are like giving so many options for the players to play. Like if you want to go experience classic era with no expansions, you can go do that. Hardcore, you can go do that. Classic with a twist, we are doing our seasons, and now we're going through Wrath and Cataclysm, but you also can go and experience a completely, well, it's not a completely different game, but like a different experience in the modern game.
You know, the only thing I would add is as we continue on and we release Cataclysm and we look to the future, so much of it, we're so fortunate on the Classic team to just continue to be able to listen to the players, listen to what they want. As Holly mentioned in her opening speech at the opening ceremonies, you know, there was a lot of listening that was done about where do players want to go, what kinds of experiences do they want to have. So that's just what we're going to continue to do as we get closer to Cataclysm and beyond.
Now, as I always ask you folks this question, you guys debate on the patch, and why did you decide on this specific patch for Cataclysm Classic, and what can players look forward to? Like you mentioned, certain things you can do in retail at that time. I can't remember because it was a while ago, but you know that might not work in Classic that you have to change and tweak. Like how are you handling changes like that, and what patch are you moving forward that did you decide on for Cataclysm Classic?
We're gonna follow the same thing that we have followed for our last expansions, which is like we're gonna look at the last patch of each of the original expansions as this is the place where this is gonna live. But for example, one of the changes that we're adding is the transmogs. They're gonna be existing in the UI, and that's more of like closer to the modern game. But one of the big reasons is because, you know, we have seen feedback since it started of like how confusing the system might have been originally. You know, where like you have to keep the peace and then go talk to the person and try.
Your bank.
It have to be in the bank and then where exactly, and where you leave it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which was fine. Sorry.
Yeah, so we're still gonna have that, the void storage, but at the same time, it's kind of like, okay, people have really liked the collections UI. Like, is there a reason why we want them to keep the item like in their bags and kind of like we want to make it easier for the players to be able to just like, hey, I want to create like this awesome transmog. Like, I'm just gonna go look at the UI that like they're used to and just like try it out, right? But it's very, very specific changes that we're trying to take on, because we still want to capture the nostalgia of the era. But yeah, definitely as always, we're gonna take like the last patch as our main point to base where Cataclysm is gonna be.
So with the Deathwing raid, usually those raids come in later in a big update patch. And for Cataclysm Classic, will that be released the same day as Classic releases, or will there be a little bit of a segue gap in that first year between the Cataclysm raid, the big Deathwing raid, excuse me?
Yeah, sorry. So when we're talking about patches, we look at the final patch from a balancing perspective. Yeah. So like, how are the classes balanced? How are the raids, the dungeons balanced? But no, we will absolutely be progressing through Cataclysm with a patch cadence. So we'll release the first patch, and then we'll release Firelands, and then we'll get to Dragon Soul. So yeah, so there will be raid tiers and everything that you're progressing through. Exactly. Yeah. So it'll be everything through. As Anna mentioned, though, in our WoW Classic What's Next panel, we have the ability with each of these to sort of reframe these expansions and change the rate at which we progress through these patches. So I think you specifically mentioned, we all know when we've stayed in a patch for too long, and that may or may not have been the case with a patch in Cataclysm. So, you know, it gives us a really good opportunity to speed things up based on how we feel or how players tell us that they're progressing through it, and how we see them progress through it. So I think what you'll see with Cataclysm is definitely changes to the length of the overall expansion and how quickly those patches come. Is
there anything you had to like nix because it just wasn't going to work with the classic formula, or anything you had to change or rebalance? We talked about this a little bit with hardcore. You had, I had to remove some things because it just doesn't work, and that same, it's unbalanced or unfair or whatnot. Is there anything you had to do that with anything like that with Cataclysm Classic? One
of the big examples is the guild progression system. It's kind of like we have the lock to be able to see how things panned out at first when that new feature was introduced. So the whole guild system is super fun, right? Like you come as a guild together, you get to start getting all these challenges and work together as a guild to get all these rewards. But unfortunately, that had a different, it made it so guilds on the smaller side were kind of left behind, because it became this of like, oh, I want to join a guild that has all the perks. So we're definitely looking at how to enhance the system so that doesn't happen again, right? Like, we're kind of like looking at these specific things of like, okay, the whole idea of having this guild progression is really fun, but we don't want to alienate the smaller guilds. So let's try to find a solution so we keep both things, right? Like a guild progression, but also making it more smaller guilds, like all sizes of guilds friendly.
That's the first one that comes to mind, absolutely. We talked about some of the other changes that Anna talked about in the panel, and we look at the success of Heroic Plus as players have called it, which is actually Titan Rune Dungeons in Wrath Classic, and how can we continue to advance that system? It's brought new mechanics to dungeons with new difficulty levels for deterministic rewards. I think that's something that we absolutely want to continue to pursue. But it's all still feels classic, or it feels the way that Cataclysm should feel. So whenever we think about changes, those are kind of our barometers for making sure we're making the right ones.
I'm talking about Season of Discovery. This is a big deal. A lot of people have been clamoring for a lot of different ways to kind of play this game, and it's such a unique game. And I've seen the ecosystem when you change a cooldown, or when you change a percentage of damage, and now you're going to turn on its head and make like warlocks being able to tank or mages going. How do you even comprehend those type of mechanics? That's not just, I've seen the world, like I said, flip on its head when a 1 turns to a 2. You know what I mean? Like, and this is like extreme levels of that. What were some of the challenges when doing that and making it fun, but more importantly, balanced in a way?
That's one of the super good opportunities and about having a season, is that it gives us this playground to go and try very interesting things, right? Without thinking of like, okay, we're adding this change, now we have to think about this for the next 15 years to make it still fit, right? So it gives us our opportunity to go and try new things, try new abilities, and go a little bit crazy, right? Like a little bit. Really, our balance in Season of Discovery at the moment is we're balancing for fun.
Right.
Not necessarily, our intent is not like, okay, all of the classes are gonna be having the same damage meters. It's more like, we want every class to have something that they feel like it's fun for them. We're of course going to be taking a look and kind of keeping an eye of like, okay, if there's something completely out of balance that it's throwing like the whole ecosystem, right? Like, we're going to take a look. But the idea is not to keep everyone on the same exact line. It's gonna be more about balancing for fun. So everybody should have a fun ability that you're like, oh my god, I'm so excited to play it. Not necessarily like everybody who's gonna do the same amount of damage or healing.
I think the only thing I would add to that, when we think about the different abilities that we were given in classes, Metamorphosis being for Warlocks, because we wanted Warlocks to be able to tank. When we talk about Hand of Reckoning for Paladins, we wanted Paladins to be able to talk. We think about mages as healers, and some of the spells and abilities that you'll have access to are more time-based. And so then does that mean that we've suddenly created like a time mage in a way? So we're not specifically calling any of them that, but when you look at the spells that we're unlocking for a lot of these classes, we sometimes have like an archetype in mind that's never really been explored in WoW Classic before. So yeah, there's been quite a bit of team brainstorming. We're definitely looking for feedback on all of it from players. We announced that level 25 is only the beginning, and it allows us to be able to reshape the future as we listen to feedback.
Yeah, so speaking to that, because it seems like a lot of these ideas were at the table at some point in the 20 years this game has existed. Did your team go back and look at that? Oh, we messed with this idea in Burning Crusade, but it didn't work at the time, so we had to shelve it. And are you guys going back and reapproaching those ideas and making them work in Season of Discovery? It's kind of like an experiment.
The ideas are coming from everywhere, right? It's like maybe I'll look in the past. I mean, a lot of the abilities are also like borrowed from future expansions. Not all of them are new, like some are borrowed. So it's kind of like getting a look at what was popular, what is fun, what do you really wish you had in the classic era and that you would like to experiment with it. So it's really like a conversation, and like the classic team, it's a very tight-knit team, and we love to have all these kind of conversations with the team about like, what would you like? And we just like asking feedback to everyone in the team about what they would like to see. And I would like to extend that invitation to like everyone, right? Like to the community, to the players of like, okay, now that you took a sneak peek, which one is the ability that you're the most excited about? So then you can tell us, maybe it's like, oh, can Priest please have this other one? Like I really, really want it. So we're like open to also hear feedback from the community too.
I think when we think about systems or features from future expansions, when we think about what wish fulfillment we're really trying to fulfill with Season of Discovery, it's very focused around class changes and class additions. It's focused around new or reimagined content, and all set in the original Azeroth, in classic era Azeroth. Just to really play into the sense of wonder and exploration as you're exploring it and these discoveries. I don't know if we'll necessarily venture into unfinished or discarded systems from future expansions.
You might still use those in future expansions.
You never know. You never know. Yeah, but for the start, especially for level 1 through 25, those are the key components that we're very focused on.
I know you guys can't get into too much. What's like the long-term concept for a season of discovery? Like, you're going to start at level 25, or are you guys going to be constantly taking notes, I'm sure, about what people like, what they don't like, and then like what's going to be your rollout plan moving forward after people really sink their teeth into Season of Mastery?
Discovery.
Oh, sorry. Discovery.
No, all good.
Sorry, Discovery.
Yeah.
The plan is to continue to go through the different levels, right? We're like really taking notes and making, like, I think the production director could have a better answer of like how to actually determine the timing of it. But we're taking a good analysis on like how long do we want each of the different phases to be in. But yeah, the idea would be to keep progressing, right? Like through our classic levels at a different pace, and then just one of the things that I love so much about having these level 25, for example, starter bracket, is that it gives the opportunity for a lot of players to come and try it without thinking, oh, I need to get to level 60. It's like such a big thing that it's gonna take me so long. Or you start playing and then your friends are already level 40 because you went on vacation for a week, and then you're like, oh, is it too late? No, we really want to kind of avoid that, right? So from the beginning, everybody's level 25. I think it's something very attainable, and then you can go and try and experiment, get to the end game in just 25 levels. Well, end game for now. So that's really something that I'm super excited about, because it's like such an achievable challenge, right? Of just like, I'm gonna level to 25 and have fun with my friends.
You know, Anna summed it up really well. I think as we progress through these level increases and potentially the new experiences that we bring with each one, I think long term, it is really dependent on what the players respond to. I mean, it really is. We're dipping our toe even further than we did with Season of Mastery into some new experiences here, and we're just really excited to see how players respond to it and what really vibes with them. And I'm dead serious when I say this, that it will help shape our future and where Classic goes.
So, you know, expectations are a thing that everyone likes to, they either get blown out of proportions or they're low. But like, what's off the table? Like, are we talking about like paladins being able to use fist weapons or dual wield? Are we talking about, you know, like you mentioned Time Mage. I'm like, oh my god, healing Time Mage, that'd be a new aspect, that'd be amazing. Like, what's off the table for Season of Discovery? Is it just kind of anything goes? You guys are having fun, experimenting, listening to feedback, and just continuing evolving? Is it just that kind of a process through and through?
Yeah, I mean, it's you can get to see all of the runes right now that are available to be discovered at level 25 if you go play the demo, so you can get an idea of what sort of abilities you are. And I think like our goal is to stay within kind of like the same theme of abilities. We want to keep it there. So it's kind of like
Not too crazy, not like
similar.
paladins throwing fireballs, but like, you know, but still fun.
I mean, if everyone is, you know, like, we're gonna listen to the feedback, but at the same time, it's like we've taken a look at the abilities and we have already crafted a bunch of them, but it's kind of like in the similar vein.
Other than, you know,
You said Time Mage, I can't get it out of my head. Oh my god, a new aspect for Mage, Time? Yes, please.
we're not officially calling anything a Time Mage, but
you said it's not official, but you gave it an example.
when the team thinks about these classes and they think, oh, wouldn't it be cool if we did abilities or spells around, you know, a Time Mage or something? Then we look at our toolkit and what's available to us and what we could change. I would expect, certainly for the first level band, to really be focused on the discoveries themselves and how you find this content in the world, what changes those bring to your class and the experimentation that you can do. And then, of course, our 10-player Black Fathom Deeps raid. And just the experience of getting to go through that, and the challenges and the surprises that come with it. And when you think about, you know, the future, that's certainly a great starting spot for us. But who knows? We announced Cataclysm Classic is coming in the first half of next year, 2024. And Season of Discovery, we are so excited, launches on November 30th with no PTR worldwide.
So It's a Wild West out there, man.
Yeah.
We are as nervous as we are excited. No. We're really excited. It's been great to see the reception to it here at BlizzCon.
I just want to add that for Season of Discovery, we are planning on having a patch earlier, but it's not going to have the content of Season of Discovery. That's going to be released afterwards. So for people that don't get confused, there's going to be a patching process beforehand, but then the actual content comes out on November 30th.
Yep.